Hello, Top Fan Rivalry friends, and welcome to Wednesday. Yes, we are Hump Day. I brought one of the best in. Monday we had American League with Ashley. We talked about her fantasy team again. She's rocking it. Cedric Mullins for the win for Ashley. On Tuesday we had Junior over from Bleacher Brothers. Great dude telling us about the Reds. A little bit about the Marlins. He may be one of 20 people that is in love with the Marlins down there in Miami. And now I'm bringing Rob in. He's also from Bleacher Brothers. We stay right there in that area of the country. Rob, good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. How are you?
Great, man. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Now, you are a fan of same region area. Tell me who your MLB team is and tell me how they became your favorite MLB team.
Well, I'm a diehard Indians fan, and I've been a fan since I was little. I grew up, my parents didn't have a lot of money, and about the only thing they left me was a love of Cleveland sports teams, which is a cross a lot of us from Cleveland have to bear.
Listen, I mean, you guys had some good runs in the 90s, but it always came up a day late and a dollar short, right?
Yeah, exactly. Almost. The fumble, the drive, 95, 97, 2016, you name it.
Well, I got to tell you, it was interesting in the 97 World Series. I get a call from my dad. My dad calls me up and he says, "Hey, are you watching the game?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You want to know something about this game?" And I'm thinking to myself, "Why you bothering me?" I had like a dozen friends over,
Uh-huh.
right? And gosh, what 97, so I'm 23, 20, something like that, 22, 23, something, right? And I'm like, Why are you bothering me?" And he goes, "Jared Wright's pitching, right?" And I said, "Yes." And he says, "You beat him in the Loera tournament." And he says the year I pitched against him because Jared went to high school in Anaheim, obviously Clyde's son. And I went to a high school not too far away from there. And sure enough, he had the scorebook out and I beat him. We both like pitched 6 innings and I won the game and he didn't. And so I told my dad, I'm like, thanks for being, he's a blue collar guy. I'm like, thanks for being a contract worker where Jared's dad was a professional baseball player. Look where he's at. Look where I am.
Exactly. But
So,
that's an amazing story, man. That's great to hear.
so
Um,
about a year ago, they were doing something pretty cool in Orange County, and Jared was at it, and I reminded him of that, and we laughed because we both remembered the tournament. I said, "Well, you may have done a little bit more with baseball than I did." I
yeah,
just talk about it
just a tad. But yeah,
now.
I guess I was like most kids, we played baseball from morning till night until, mom yelled for us to get in the house. But nothing beats for taking a child down to a baseball stadium. You still remember walking in and we went to Old Municipal Park, which was an
Yeah.
absolute dump. But the no matter where you go, the field is always pristine. And to experience that as a kid, that's how you get the love for something, right? Is to experience it. And that's how I became a baseball fan. And really that's how I became a diehard Cleveland fan.
So is there, I mean, this is a side note. I'm going to ask you a few other questions, but
Yeah, no
is it
problem.
to it? Are you with me on this? And you got me by a few years, not many. Is it? Aren't the old school stadiums, Municipal Stadium? I mean, even the vet. That I mean, they weren't awesome, but man, they were just based. You went there for baseball. You didn't go there to be entertained by fireworks and batting cages for the kids. Freaking game. Tell me I'm wrong. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, I agree with you. The thing about going to a game for me is, I'll admit I like my adult beverages, and
Yeah.
so the stadium is important, but so is the atmosphere that it's in. And you look at Wrigley, going to
Yep.
Wrigleyville. I mean, that's unbelievable. I think Progressive Field where the Indians play is it's not in the same league as Wrigleyville, but it's close. There's a lot of places to go before, and you kind of get the build up to the game. A lot of fans are there. as opposed to somewhere like Arizona or Miami. You drive to the game and you're there and there's nothing to do. You walk in and you leave immediately afterward, you know? I think that the people who are building things around the stadiums like that have it right.
Yeah. No, I agree. Keep it out of the stadium though. Let's just get back to the old school looking stadium. I will tell you, I was at the Oakland Coliseum this last year and for its final season. And though it doesn't look like much outside, and true, it doesn't. When you walk in, it feels like that old school baseball stadium, and it
Yep.
feels like that's what you're there for. You're not there because little Johnny can take batting practice or throw a pitch to see how quickly, the radar gun's gonna. No, you were there to watch a baseball game.
Right. And now there's so many people not in the seats because they take their kids off to do that, that they can look, you can go to a batting cage or throw a radar gun somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
You can't sit down and watch the game. And you know, I I, I think long term that's going to hurt because they're not developing fans like you and I
Mhm.
that have followed it for 50 years and are going to follow it till the day we die.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know. Maybe they know more than you and I. I don't know.
Maybe that's because we talk about it in their videos. So who knows,
Yeah,
right? Um,
exactly.
I'm just a little bit shy of my bank account than a billion, but I'm
Yeah.
working on it. If you add up all my Monopoly money and everything like that, we might get to, I don't know, thousands. No, I'm
I
teasing.
th I think if I convert it to yen, I might be a billionaire, maybe.
There you
So,
go. There you
but
go.
and I think you're right because the memories that stick with me are from the old municipal stadium. And I was fortunate enough that my dad, we couldn't go to a lot of games, but he always made the games we went to count. And by that I mean, Hank Aaron ended his career with the Brewers, and he
Yeah,
he made sure to take me down to see Hank Aaron play in person, right? Nolan Ryan came into town to pitch. He made sure I got to go and see, the guys that you needed to see.
yeah.
So,
Which, by the way, for those of you listening to this born after 1990, the Cleveland back then was the Cleveland Indians. They remember the Milwaukee Brewers were in the American League at the time, everybody. They were in the American League East. So, Rob's not losing it, everybody. That's literally the way it used to be, my friends.
yeah, I may
So,
be losing it, but not for that reason. But yeah, and I got to see Hank Aaron hit a home run. I still remember it was down the left field line,
mhm.
about maybe 3 or 4 feet inside the foul line. But talk about a thrill for a kid keeping somebody to be a fan. I mean, doesn't get much better than that, right?
It does not. It does not. It does not. Speaking of that, favorite players, favorite current player, favorite player of all time.
Current players, you have to appreciate, if you're a baseball fan, you have to appreciate the skill set that Shohei Ohtani has. The power, the speed, the average, and he's one of the premier pitchers. I mean, yeah, he's one of my favorites. And, he goes about the game and plays it pretty humbly.
Mhm.
Somebody else that I pay attention to, I'm not sure that I would feel he's my favorite player, but he's someone I always like to see what he's doing, and that's Juan Soto. And you look at this year, he's got, I think, a 127 plus OPS, and people are upset with him that he's having a bad start. How good of a player do you have to be where you're at 127 plus and people think you're doing horribly?
Yeah, yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I was just having this conversation with a former 70s and 80s player, and it's amazing how we look at these players and if they're hitting 275 with 30 home runs and 100 RBIs, we're thinking they have an off season. That used to be a career slash Hall of Fame year,
Yes.
right? Hall of Fame career if that were the case. So, man, so many changes, right?
Yeah, and then you go back. I would say there's two players that immediately jump to my mind. Albert Bell, okay, he was a little bit crazy,
Hmm.
but you go back to that 95 season, I think he's still the only major league player to have 50 doubles and 50 plus home runs in a year. Um, maybe it's the way people in New York or Yankees fans view Judge right now, but you stopped what you were doing when Bell came up in 95 because that was just an unbelievable season that he
Yeah,
had. And, not just because I'm a Cleveland fan, but that was one of the worst MVP votes. You put Bell's numbers next to Mo Vaughn's that year. They're You take the names away, nobody in their right mind would put Vaughn as the MVP. And then another player, Omar Vizquel,
ooh,
he gets beat up um, for his Hall of Fame credentials, but until you watch that guy field every day, you just don't realize how much better he was. Bill, he would during warm-ups, the first baseman would throw the ball over on the ground. He could kick it and it would go straight in the air and he would grab it and throw over to first. I mean, he was just unbelievable what he could do with the glove.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That is style. That is flash, right?
Yeah, and on those teams, and this is what I think some of the modern day baseball loses. You know, back when we grew up, people there were roles on the team, right? And Omar Vizquel played a role on those powerful Indians teams where get on base, smart base running, and he did all that stuff.
Yeah.
How about
No, I
you?
I agree. I love your analysis that it's a whole different game, and I tell people all the time, can you imagine? Can you imagine how many stolen bases Ricky Henderson would have had if there was a pitch clock and two disengagement rule? That would have
Un
900 stolen bases a season.
Yeah, insane amount.
He'd get
Insane
on
amount.
first base with a walk or a base hit, and and the opposing manager would walk out of the dugout, walk over to the umpire, and just point to third base and just tell Ricky, just go over there because they don't want you to make them look bad stealing second and third. Just go over there, go,
Two quick
right?
walks.
I mean, just this. I don't care what you need to do. Cross the diamond. I don't care if you want to touch second and go to third. I don't care what you do, but yeah. Anyways,
And then, I was always number 39 playing baseball because of the Cobra, Dave Parker. Um,
yeah.
I'm kind of mixed about him making the Hall of Fame. Um,
Really?
yeah. The drug use was bad. And if you go back
Uh-huh.
and you remember the legal case that went on, I mean, it wasn't just using. You had guys, and he was introducing people. They were selling and dealing drugs in the locker room. I know it was different. It was, the cocaine cowboys back in the 70s and 80s, but um, to keep out, and I see that Pete Rose, they're going to make a move to hopefully reestablish him. You know, you got players that are doing that, and then you keep other players out for other reasons. I don't know. I just find it a little inconsistent. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is very hard to yeah, it's very hard to quantify um, what it yeah, it's I personally I think that Pete Rose belongs in the Hall. But again, what do I know, right?
Well, I had the chance to have dinner with him down in Mississippi. My friend was managing Michael Nunn, the boxer who was going for his fourth belt, his a belt in his fourth different weight class. And Pete wanted to meet Michael, so we all went out to dinner. And I'm talking to Pete, and you know, I asked him. I go, Pete, why did you run first base, run on the field, run off the field? And he looked at me like I had three eyes, and he
Yeah,
goes, you don't understand. I played with the greatest catcher ever to play the game. I played with the greatest second baseman ever to play the game. He goes, I played with Tony Press, Hall of Famer. He goes, you make it out 70% of the time. I need those guys to know that I'm trying.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an act. There was nobody else around. We were just sitting there, you know. And if he wasn't sincere, he sure as hell fooled me. But I thought, wow, what a hell of a player.
Yeah. Pete Rose was one of the best, right?
Yep.
And I mean, does it get any better than that, right? And oh man, I'll tell you, it's Pete deserves to be in the hall, but we'll never we'll never know because it's just there's just too much of that, right? There's
Yeah,
just
and
too
I
much.
think it goes back to the Albert Bell syndrome too, right? He wasn't exactly the friendliest person with the media and the way he handled things. The same with Bell, and you get punished for that, right? Barry Bonds, same thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So talk to me about ballparks. What ballparks have you been to, whether they exist or not? Still,
Wow,
I mean, I'm sure you got a list,
I probably 20 plus. Let's see, Montreal, Boston, both Pittsburgh stadiums, Three Rivers, and the current one, both Cleveland stadiums, obviously, both Detroit, the old Tiger Stadium, and the new one, Comiskey, Wrigley, Old Bush, Old Kansas City, Diamondbacks, Anaheim, San Diego, Miami, both of the Miami, Tampa. Been to a ton of them, and I'm sure I'm leaving some out.
yeah. Do you have a favorite?
Um, it depends on the criteria you ask for that. In terms of the field and whatnot, I like when I go to the game, I like the surroundings, right? I hate going to a park like Miami or Arizona where there's nothing else there, right? You drive in for the game and then you drive out, right? There's not a
Mhm.
gathering of fans. You lose some of that energy or that spirit at places like those. Wrigleyville, got to be at the top of everybody's list. Same
Right.
with Fenway. Plus, you're in those neighborhoods, and then you go into that historic ballpark. I love it. Those would be two, other than, of course, the Cleveland stadiums.
Yeah, I like it. Like you say, I'm an old school guy. I have not been to Cleveland. It's on the bucket list. I've not been to Cincinnati. I wish I could have seen Riverfront. I wish I
Yep.
could have seen the old vet stadium, right? I mean, there were nothing to look at from the outside.
Right.
Um, and if you ask guys from Philly, there were nothing to look at on the inside either. But, they were a great babysitter, right? For the boys that were in the neighborhood, right? It's like, Mom, we're gonna take the train, we're gonna go to the game. That type of a scenario.
Oh yeah. I mean, the old municipal stadium, uh, we knew the doors you could jiggle and pull open,
Yep.
the doors and sneak in. And sometimes they would fix them, and then we'd have to someone would buy a general admission seat, and there'd be five of us waiting outside. Someone would come by, kick the door open, we'd all run in.
Great. Awesome. Yeah, good.
But
Those are the good old days, man. I had a buddy of mine who grew up in New York, and he said that I grew up in the shadows and literally he was right across the street from Yankee Stadium. He lived in one of the condos or one of the apartments right across the street.
yep,
So he used to wait until the fourth inning. He listened to the game or watched the game on TV or listened to the game on the radio. Wait until the fourth inning, walk down there, and he knew one specific gate, and he knew the two NYPD guys that would hang out at the gate. His name was Frank, and they'd say, "Frankie, come on in. It's cool. Don't steal anybody's seat." And it didn't matter. So he was there the day that Chris Chambliss hit the Bronx's
oh,
burning walk-off home run, like a bunch of stuff. But that's old school stuff, man. I mean, shaking doors. I love that.
yep.
That you gotta love that stuff about baseball.
Oh yeah, we loved it. And we'd go early, and
Yep.
my friend was a year older than me, but he was much bigger than me. And so we had a system during batting practice. If a ball rolled over the old municipal stadium, the fence was only like 2 feet, 2.5 feet. So I would dive over, he would grab my legs, and I'd scoop the ball up. Well, one time, Bill, Boog Powell was 75, was playing first base for the Indians in the big red uniforms,
Yeah.
and he fielded it and threw it to Don Hood, the pitcher, and it was a bad throw, and Hood cooked it right over. We had snuck down.
Mhm.
I instinctively jumped over the fence. He grabs my feet. I scooped the ball up as Don Hood's trying to pick it up. And we just looked at each other and we ran like hell and hid up in the upper deck in one of the bathrooms. And I was surprised they didn't call it a fan interference because I clearly took the ball out of play.
Right, right.
And I still
And
have it sitting on the shelf behind me. It's one of the balls up
beautiful.
there.
And Boone, you said Boone Powell, and that dude was not a small kid.
No, he was not.
That
He was
that was
big.
not a small kid. I mean, that guy was about 6'4". I don't know, 560, 580. So I mean, the kid was a big kid, man. He's
Yeah,
uh,
and that year 75, like I said, I got to go to see people, and we went when Frank Robinson managed the first game there in 75. And he hit the home run. Powell hit a home run, I think, that game too. So they I think they beat the White Sox 5-3, if I remember correctly. But yeah, got to see that. Um, was there when Jose Canseco bounced the ball off his head for a home run. And one of the funny things, Bill, my friend was getting married. He had moved to St. Louis, and it was a September game, and I had good seats down by first base. And I said, "Come on, while the girls are all doing their thing, let's go to the game." So we sat there. I had four tickets, couldn't even find two people to use the other two tickets. And so we're watching the game. It's like the fifth inning. He goes, "Hey, I gotta go. I gotta be there for the end of the shower." I go, "Steve's throwing a no hitter. You can't leave." So he reluctantly sat for one more inning. Sure enough, he goes, "I gotta go. I'm gonna be late. Let's go." I go, "I can't leave during a no hitter." So he left. Fortunately, Steve finished the no hitter off, and I didn't feel foolish waiting for a bus to get home.
yeah,
But
you're like, hey, that was your fault, man. That
yeah,
was
and the two tickets I had, I tracked Dave Steve down and sent him the two tickets. I said, "Hey, you can keep one if you want." And he autographed both of them and sent them back to me with a nice note. So
yeah.
kudos to him.
He's probably like, hey, um I got about 16 of these, but I appreciate it. Right.
Yep.
That's amazing. Okay, so we are officially, gosh, what are we? We're officially, I don't know, 25, depending on the team, 28 games in, right? The Rockies have already been mathematically eliminated. Uh, they are having a rough go. They told the White Sox, hold our Gatorade, we will reset this record for you. See what we can do here. But tell me a little bit about the Guardians. Tell me a little bit about what you're looking forward to in 2025. What you think 2025 is gonna be like for these guys.
Wow, that's a great question because, for the first time in a long time, I think it's a mystery for the Guardians. And, what's the mystery? Can Kyle hit behind? Can somebody protect Jose? At least, last year we had Naylor, right? That could do that. But this year, not so much. The injuries, right? Class A, he everything's there. His velocity's there. It's just he's missing inside and low to right-handers, and he's missing out over to the plate on batters. And that hasn't happened to him before. Is he going to get right? Because if he's not right, the strength of that team is the bullpen, and now they need more work out of the starters, and their depth just isn't there this year. So um, I have a lot of faith in that front office. I think they and the Rays are the only two teams that on a low budget can consistently produce top pitchers. So I have a lot of faith in them, but it's really a mystery, Bill.
Yeah, it's what's interesting is I had picked the Tigers to win that division at the beginning of the season, but I said it's going to be a dogfight between the Guardians, the Tigers, and Kansas City. Now, Kansas City is not playing where they need to be, but man, the
Well,
Guardians are there.
Yeah, and the Royals are a bit top heavy. What they got 3 or 4 stars that they're relying on,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Cole Reagan's he hopefully he comes back soon. And they said it's a mild strain, but when you're that reliant on top heavy, one of them, if you have four, one's going to have a not so good year, right? I mean,
yep,
that's the odds of it. And now injury comes in.
yeah,
So I really didn't think the Royals were going to factor it. I did think it was going to come down to the Tigers and the Guardians this year.
agreed. Agreed. And so before we let you go, it's Wednesday. I want to get everybody to work. Like, I'm sorry if you're breaking away, taking a break, and I don't want you to get fired. If you do, my name is AJ. I run Bleacher Brothers. If you get in trouble at work, just tell them that it's AJ. My number is no, I'm teasing. I'm just kidding. Rob, tell everybody where they can find you. You have your show. I'm going to be a
Yep.
guest on your show, but tell everybody where they can find you social media wise and everything else.
So bleacherbrothers.com. If you hit that website and you look under the shows, you'll find me. I do my show at 4 p.m. on Wednesdays. I had a partner, Coach Ed Warner, probably the best offensive line coach in college football history.
Okay.
He joined Tom Sula over in the European League, so he's joining me when he can. But yeah, we do an hour show. Got some great guests lined up, so including someone named Bill tomorrow.
I mean, I'm
So
telling you, so it's gonna be amazing, right? I mean, this poor guy's gonna have me on his show, and he will have the worst ratings ever of the show. I guarantee it. That it'll be so bad that AJ will sit there and say, "Please do not have this guy on for the love of everything decent and holy. Do not have this guy back."
listen,
And it just is what it is. But hey,
if
I got
you
a face
like
for radio. What can I
baseball,
say?
if you like baseball, you and I sitting down and talking about it, I'm sure we could spin stuff for an hour or two and make the time seem like it went by in 5 minutes.
Boom, boom, right?
Because
So,
between the two of us, we've probably seen almost everything there is to see in baseball.
yep. Yep, including what happened in Houston the other night with Mauricio Dubon and Luis Ariz. Like
Yes,
I was getting hit, Rob, by people saying, "Oh, Astros see they're dirty players." No, Dubon did exactly, with the exception of he probably should have turned up.
right,
Dubon did exactly. He didn't do anything wrong. They just both met, and the reason why Luis got hurt was not because of the contact because of the way his head hit the ground.
right.
Guys, that's sports. That
Yes.
is sports, right?
And
And
well, this week something was done this was the 19th time it was done in
yes,
Major League
yes,
history.
yes.
You know what it is.
For Jimmy Jackson one game.
Yep. And
Yes.
there's 24 perfect games in the history of baseball, and only 19 times has someone hit 4 homers in a game.
Well, and see, here's what's funny about this, Rob. And I promise everybody we'll let you go in a second. I promise we'll keep it under half hour for you. Um, I feel bad when people listen and they're like, "Hey, I had a lunch break or whatever." Um, the thing that we can argue, Rob, and I told AJ about this before. The thing that we argue is sure he went yard 4 times, but they lost the game. So does it matter that he went yard 4 times? So is it an individual accomplishment or is it a team accomplishment? And like, what are you looking for at that point, right? And you can make an argument either way, right?
Yeah, well, we'll pick that argument up tomorrow. I know you're you're
Ah,
you're on a tight schedule.
love it, love it.
And
Let's do
we'll
it.
have to pick sides that we're going to take before, or we can draw straws
Yes.
when we start. So,
Well, Rob, I appreciate you being on. I want to get you back on when we get closer to the All-Star break. We'll get you back on again. We'll talk about where the Guardians are at, positives, negatives, things like that. But I want to introduce you to the community and look forward to having you on again, my friend. I appreciate your time.
oh, thank you. And I guarantee you, Bill, you have me on about the All-Star game. I'll give you a couple great stories about an All-Star game.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait. All right, top 10
All
rivalry
right.
friends. Our good friend Rob is here. We appreciate him, and we will have him on again soon. Everybody have a great hump day. Stay out of trouble. Again, if you're going to cause trouble, uh, my name is AJ. I run Bleacher Brothers Sports Network. Make me your second call from Jet. No, I'm just teasing. All right, everybody, have a great day.